The day I moved into Crest VYEW Heights, a sleek 12-story condominium piercing the city skyline, I felt a rush of optimism. It was late April 2025, and the air carried the faint scent of blooming lilacs as I hauled my boxes through the polished lobby. The building gleam at its glass windows sparkled. Its marble floors reflected the soft glow of chandeliers. After months of scraping together a down payment, I'd finally secured my own place. Unit 8B, a modest one-bedroom with a VYEW of the bustling streets below. I imagined quiet evenings, new friendships, and the pride of homeownership in a well-run community. But I had no idea how quickly that dream would tangle with the absurdity of HOA politics, or how one woman would turn my fresh start into a battlefield. The lobby hummed with active VY tie that first day. Residents streamed in from work, offering curt nods or faint smiles. They seemed polite but distant, their eyes fixed on elevators or phones. A maintenance worker named Tom, a burly guy with a crooked grin and a mop of graying hair, spotted me struggling with my boxes. "Need a hand?" he asked, already grabbing a cart. I nodded gratefully, and we piled my belongings onto it. As the elevator climbed to the 8th floor, Tom leaned against the wall, wiping sweat from his brow. "You met Mrs. Hargrove yet?" he said, his tone half amused, half wary. I shook my head, the name vaguely familiar from a welcome letter I'd skimmed. "Oh, you will," he chuckled, a glint in his eye. "She's something else." I laughed it off, assuming he meant some quirky neighbor. Little did I know that Mrs. Evelyn Hargrove, known to most as Vera, behind her back would soon become the architect of my misery. My first run-in with Vera came 5 days later. I was trudging back from the grocery store, arms aching under the weight of bags, when a sharp throat-clearing stopped me cold. I turned to see a woman in her late 50s, her silver blonde hair sculpted into a flawless bob, her navy blazer crisp over pressed slacks. Her hazel eyes sized me up like I was a stray dog wandering into her pristine domain. "You're new," she said, her voice clipped, her lips twitching into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I shifted my bags, forcing a grin. "Yeah, just moved into 8B. I'm Ellie. Nice to meet you." She tilted her head, arms crossing. "Evelyn Hargrove, president of the Crest VYEW Heights HOA. Most call me Mrs. Hargrove, though some prefer Vera." Her smirk suggested she knew exactly what that nickname implied and reveled in it. Before I could respond, she fished a thick stack of papers from her leather tote and thrust it at me. "The building guidelines," she said. "I noticed your balcony planter has marigolds. Per our rules, flowers must be white or pastel to maintain aesthetic uniformity. Replace them by Friday." I blinked, juggling my groceries to take the packet. My marigolds bright, cheerful bursts of yellow were apparently a crime against HOA harmony. Sure, I'll look into it," I mumbled, glancing at the offending planter VY Cybele through my balcony window. She gave me a final once-over, nodded curtly, and strode off, her heels clicking like a metronome. I stood there, dumbfounded, as the elevator doors closed behind me. That night, I pored over the HOA rulebook, a tome of petty decrees that made my head spin. No outdoor grills, even on balconies. No music audible beyond your unit after 9 p.m. Window blinds must be beige or off-white, no exceptions. There were even rules about how many guests you could have at 1/6 max unless pre-approved. I laughed at first, imagining Vera patrolling the halls with a ruler and a stopwatch. But the amusement faded as I realized she wasn't a caricature. She was a force, and I'd barely scratched the surface of her reign. Over the next few weeks, I settled into a rhythm, working remotely by day, hitting the condo gym by night. I made friends. Nora, a chatty barista in 8C who loved true crime podcasts. Jake, a graphic designer in 9A with a dry wit and a rescue cat named Pixel. And the Parkers, a retired couple in 7D who treated the lobby plants like their grandchildren. They were warm, funny, and quick to warn me about Vera. "She's got eyes everywhere," Nora whispered one evening as we stretched in the gym. "Last month, she fined me $50 because my bike tire scuffed the hallway carpet." Jake snorted, adjusting his headphones. She caught me with a pizza box in the elevator, said it compromised the building's odor standards. I mean, come on. The Parkers, meanwhile, had been scolded for Leah Vy-ing a watering can out overnight. She's relentless, Mrs. Parker sighed, pruning a fern. But the place is spotless. You got to give her that. And it was true. The hallways gleamed. The trash chutes never stank. The elevators ran like clockwork. Vera's iron grip kept Crest VY-EW Heights pristine, almost too pristine. Residents spoke in hushed tones about Vera on the loose, a warning passed like a secret code when her shadow loomed near. I dodged her for a while, swapping out my marigolds for pale petunias to avoid trouble. But then came a notice that shattered the fragile peace. It was pinned to the mailroom bulletin board in bold red ink. Attention residents. Effective immediately, the Crest VY-EW Heights HOA is imposing a special assessment of $250 per unit for critical upgrades to the building's seismic stabilization grid. Payment due by month's end. Evelyn Hargrove, HOA president. I reread it, frowning. Seismic stabilization grid? We weren't on a fault line, and the building had passed its last inspection with flying colors. Whispers rippled through the mailroom as others gathered, their faces a mix of confusion and irritation. What the hell's a seismic stabilization grid? Jake muttered, snapping a photo of the notice. Sounds like something from a sci-fi movie. Nora crossed her arms. $250? For what? The next day, Vera sent a mass email doubling down. The seismic stabilization grid is VY-TOW for resident safety. I've consulted experts, and this upgrade ensures we exceed city standards. Payments must be made via check, delivered to my office by the 30th. Late fees will apply. No details, no contractor names, just her word, cloaked in that haughty tone. Suspicion gnawed at me. I cornered Tom in the basement, where he was tinkering with a water heater. Tom, you ever hear this grid thing? He wiped his hands on a rag, shaking his head. Nope. We've got reinforced beams, standard stuff for a high-rise, but nothing called that. Sounds fishy. I thanked him and called the city's building department. After a maze of transfers, an inspector named Ruiz laughed through the phone. Seismic stabilization grid? Never heard of it. Your building's up to Cardino new mandates. No weird tech required. That night, I met Nora and Jake at the rooftop terrace, the city lights twinkling below. It's a scam, I said, laying out what I'd learned. No records, no proof, just Vera say so. Nora's eyes narrowed. She's got some nerve. But how do we fight it? Jake grinned, cracking his knuckles. We dig deeper. If she's lying, there's a paper trail or a lack of one. We hatched a plan. I'd rally more residents. Nora would grill the maintenance crew, and Jake would scour the web for anything on this supposed grid. The Parkers joined us the next morning, outraged after paying early out of trust. She made it sound so urgent, Mr. Parker grumbled. We're on a fixed income, doula, 250 stings. Word spread fast. By week's end, we had a coalition 20 residents, from young professionals to retirees, all fed up with Vera's edicts. She caught wind of our grumbling and fired off another email. It has come to my attention that some residents doubt the necessity of this project. Rest assured, I've vetted it thoroughly. Non-compliance risks our safety. It was a threat dressed as reassurance, and it only stoked our resolve. Then came her boldest move. She demanded checks be slipped under her office door for efficiency, bypassing the usual HOA payment portal. Red flags waved wildly. She's pocketing it, Jake said, pacing my Lee-Vy-ing room. No invoices, no board vote, just her word and a locked door. The monthly HOA meeting loomed, and we saw our chance. Normally, it was a sleepy affair, 5 or 6 attendees, rubber stamping Vera's whims. This time, the community lounge overflowed with nearly 60 people, a sea of folded arms and furrowed brows. Vera swept in, her usual poise faltering as she scanned the crowd. Good evening, she began, her voice tight. Let's review the minute someone cut her off. What about this seismic grid? Show us the proof. She straightened, forcing a smile. It's a cutting-edge system, integrated into the foundation, essential for stability. I stood, heart hammering. I called the city. They've never heard of it. No new codes, no requirements. A murmur swelled. Vera's eyes flashed. I've spoken to specialists, Nora jumped in. Tom says there's no such thing here. Where's the contractor? The room erupted. Vera clutched her notes, her cool unraveling. It's in the substructure hard to access, she snapped. Mister. Parker boomed. Then show us a bid, a license something. She promised documents by the next meeting, but her voice trembled, and she bolted as the gavel fell. We weren't done. Jake dug into Peak Seismic Solutions, the contractor she'd named in a follow-up memo. It was a ghost no website, no registration, just a P.O. box in a neighboring state. Meanwhile, I spotted Vera late one night in the basement, handing an envelope to a wiry man in a hoodie. Their voices echoed. Just sign it, she hissed. I need proof. He grumbled, can't prove what ain't there, and stormed off. I ducked behind a pillar, pulse racing. She was fabricating Evy Denke. We called an unofficial residence meeting, excluding Vera. 40 people crammed into the lounge, fury palpable. She's stealing from us, Nora said, slamming the fake contractor memo on the table. I saw her pay a guy to lie. I added, recounting the basement scene. The Parkers looked gutted. We trusted her, Mrs. Parker whispered. We strategized, demand an audit, force her to show the books, escalate to the city if she stonewalled. Vera retaliated with a furious email. Unauthorized gatherings violate HOA bylaws. Participants face penalties. It was a desperate flex, and it backfired. The next official meeting was a showdown. The lounge buzzed as Vera took her seat, flanked by her loyal board cronies. M.S. Torres, an independent member who'd clashed with Vera before, sat stone-faced. I presented our Evy Denke, the city's denial, Tom's affidavit VYT, Jake's research on a sham contractor. We want an audit, I said. Now. Vera's hand shook as she flipped through our papers. A misunderstanding, she stammered. The contractor's finalizing MS. Torres cut in. Where's the work happening? Show us. Vera floundered. It's concealed. The crowd roared. I want my money back. Mrs. Parker cried. MS. Torres moved for an audit. The room cheered. Vera's allies squirmed, but caved under pressure. The vote passed. She fled, her empire cracking. Days later, a city auditor named MS. Klein arrived sharp. No nonsense. Her briefcase a weapon. She tore through the HOA records as we waited, breathless. Hours later, she emerged, Vera trailing like a ghost. Funds from the seismic grid went to a personal account under Mrs. Hargrove's name, MS. Klein announced. No contractor, no permits, possible fraud. Gasps ricocheted. Vera sank into a chair, head in hands. I was in debt, she croaked. I'm going to pay it back. The room froze. Nora glared. You lied to us. Vera's tears fell, but sympathy was scarce. She'd preyed on trust, especially the elderly's. We debated, press charges or settle for refunds, and her resignation. MS. Torres urged calm. Let the city handle it. She steps down, pays up, we move on. Vera resigned that week, refunded every cent from her said from a loan, and put her condo up for sale. She vanished soon after, a forlorn figure hauling boxes into a truck. I caught her eye once, and she murmured, I wanted this place to be perfect. I nodded, unsure if I pitied or despised her. Crest VYEW Heights healed slowly. MS. Torres and a new board rewrote the bylaws, open budgets, shared oversight, no more solo power grabs. The halls relaxed, laughter replaced whispers. We held a potluck, swapped stories of Vera's reign, and vowed VY violence. The seismic stabilization grid became a dark joke, a reminder of how close we'd come to ruin and how unity had saved us. My marigolds never returned, but the community I'd craved bloomed in their place. VY Brant and unshakable. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.